Alright everyone, we start off today with the obvious, which is analysis of the first presidential debate between Joe Biden and Donald Trump. I have watched most of it now. I just watched it before making these videos. This was an unmitigated, complete fucking failure for Joe Biden. And I know that some people will discount the analysis when I say something like that because they're like, well, you're Team Trump. Obviously, you have a favored candidate. Yes, I wear that on my sleeve. I support Donald Trump, and I was rooting for him. The Trump that showed up was much more linear, much more coherent and focused than I expected. Sometimes he goes off the rails. Oddly enough, CNN handed him a gift by doing the microphone thing because it prevented him from going off the rails. He was focused, he was astute, and Joe Biden, by contrast, looked confused. He sometimes was saying things, and I'm not 100% sure what he was saying. I was confused about Joe Biden, too. It's like they should have made sure that he got a good night's sleep. Then they give him his benzos and his Red Bull before he goes up on stage. That's normally what they do, like with the State of the Union, with his rallies and stuff like that. Somehow it slipped their mind, and what we got instead was a very, very hoarse Joe Biden, who, by the end of the debate, can barely even fucking utter a sentence, and then is completely incoherent the rest of the time. Again, there were a couple of times when you look at the, micro expressions on people's faces. Sometimes they're hilarious. I think that Tucker Carlson is the funniest one of them, and sometimes he just doesn't believe what he's hearing, and he's like, he literally does, like, the knuckling the brow thing, and he's like, he's trying to figure out what the fuck he's listening to. There were a couple of times here when I think that Donald Trump was legitimately confused that his opponent didn't know what the fuck he was talking about. This was a disaster. This was a 0 out of 10 performance for Joe Biden and at least an above average performance for Donald Trump. He can be very nonlinear sometimes. I complained about this just the other day and I was worried. What's going to happen? CNN clearly doesn't like Donald Trump. So they're going to softball Biden, and to an extent they did. They were asking him different questions than they were asking Donald Trump. Trump completely crab-hammered him over and over and over again. It was like a goddamn blood sport. Watching this, I'm almost incredulous. I almost can't believe what I'm seeing, because how could they not juice Biden up? How could they not prepare him better than they did? It's literally elder abuse at some point. Trump looks perfectly fine. You know, he's a 6 out of 10 performance on the debate, but when you're contrasting with a 0 out of 10, that is massively lopsided. Again, I have not watched the entire debate. I haven't even watched it to the end. I'm expecting that Joe Biden's voice deteriorates to a whisper by the end of the fucking debate. Then you've got the response. Of course, every media organization in the entire world wants to get that analysis out as quickly as possible because it's clickbait, including CNN. Look at their front page right now on CNN.com. What do you see? It's an attempt to cope. The fact checkers, by the way, didn't even bother to circle wagons for Joe Biden. They were like, they threw up their hands. They're like, fuck this shit. They actually did a fair fact check of him. I would give them good marks for actually doing their due journalistic diligence. If you go to CNN.com, they are trying to wagon circle. How do they do this? Disastrous performance for Biden and a litany of Trump lies. Trump lied a lot, so, you know, whoa, shit, we better take that debate stream down. That was a fucking shit show. It was a freak show. This is the strangest debate that I've ever seen, and I've watched every presidential debate since, you know, Herbert Walker Bush was in office. I mean, I was a little kid at the time, but I was already a little bit interested in politics. I was that odd kid. I ate my vegetables, and I actually liked elections and stuff like that when I was in the single-digit age range. I've watched Clinton debate. I've watched Gore v. Bush. I've watched Bush v. Kerry. I've watched Obama v. McCain and Romney. Of course, I certainly watched the Trump-Hillary debates. Those were the best ones. This was the most lopsidedly crushing debate performance that I can think of. It could not be worse for Joe Biden. Trust me, prediction. He is going to lose support as a result of this debate performance. There are people openly calling for him to stand down right now, and some of them are liberal commentators. And I don't mean the normal gang of liberal commentators that just are, you know, eternal pessimists. I mean like the pragmatic ones. They're clearly Dem Party partisans. They generally like Joe Biden. They think that he's a nice guy, and for some reason, I'm not exactly sure why, they're calling for him to step aside. He won't step aside. That's another prediction. I don't think that this causes him to literally step down. But I do think it declines his support a little bit within the polling. I think that his approval will go down because Trump was able to answer the questions. Like, for example, one of the greatest examples that I saw on J6. Trump is queried about that, and it's like, oh, you know, you've pledged to pardon or commute sentences and stuff, and there were terrorists and stuff. And he says, well, on J6, inflation was low. On J6, unemployment was low. On J6, we weren't in any wars. Oh, look at the state of the world right now. Sort of making little of it, mocking the very concept of the question. He did a fantastic job on that one. That was definitely a complete mind bullet on his part. By the way, Kitty, thank you for making me fuzzy. Trump performed better than I expected by a considerable margin. I expected that he would not be able to counter Biden and the moderators who were adversarial the way that he did because he tends to be nonlinear. Instead, we got a very, very linear Trump showing up. He did a fantastic job. And Joe Biden, I didn't expect him to be that haggard. Of course, he's an older dude. You know, maybe he had insomnia the night before. He's like, oh, come on, man, I got to talk to Donald. I got to talk to the felon. He tried to trot out the felon line, and that was funny, too. He says, well, the man I'm looking at right now, let me try to do a raspy Biden voice. Well, the guy I'm looking at right now is a convicted felon. Trump says, yeah, he just nods. Yeah, I'm a convicted felon. Yeah, because you're trying to persecute me, because you can't beat me fair and square. Trump could not have done better than his performance in this debate. Biden could not have done worse. Let's put it that way. I'm kind of lamenting the fact that I didn't bother to stay up and watch it. There was a 2-minute delay. So keep in mind, they might have parsed out some of the worst portions. There's no live audience, and they've got a 2-minute delay. There could have been more Biden gaffes that we simply didn't even see. But the thing is, the whole debate was one giant gaffe for Joe Biden. He never was capable. In one instance, I expected at least a couple of the answers to be relatively coherent and not have a rebuttal or something. Nope, not a single one. Not one of the ones that I saw. I'm not even being hyperbolic. Goddamn, watch it for yourself. Here I am, actually promoting CNN of all possible news groups. You gotta watch this shit. From stem to stern, 100% total advantage Trump. It wasn't even close. It's not like the 2016 debates. There were times when Hillary really hit him hard, and there were times when he didn't manage to hit back. In 2020, and this is why I think Trump looked confused a couple of times. In 2020, Joe Biden had some cognitive decline, but he was still relatively coherent. He's not anymore. Quite clearly, he is not. He's fucking off of his gourd. He has no clue what he's talking about at least 10% of the time in this particular debate. 10% of the time he's incoherent and you don't know what he's saying. And the other 80% of the time he's so raspy that it's barely possible to even hear what he's saying, even if he's being coherent. This was an unmitigated disaster. I will be getting more into this in today's live stream. Trust me, I'm going to watch the rest of the debate. Again, I watched the first part of it, and I can barely believe what I'm hearing. I can barely believe what I'm seeing. I'm like, what the fuck? They forgot his Dextro. Nah, they didn't give him his Adderall. Again, a big problem for him. That's about all. Peace out.